Hi everyone, my name is Trisha,
My name is Mahea.
and welcome back to another episode of this podcast. Um, I'm so happy that we're still doing this. I didn't imagine that we'd be doing this still after, was it 6 episodes now, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really exciting that we can still like do these videos. Um, Sorry, hold on. Sorry, my dog just came in. She likes to borrow my bed. Okay, sorry. If you're watching the YouTube video, or if you're listening, I just walked out to let my dog in. She likes to borrow my bed. Anyways, yeah. So with in this episode, we kind of want to continue what we talked about last episode. We did have a week with no podcast, so this is gonna kind of like encompass last week's topics and today's topics. Um, yeah, so like last week we were talking about college and like our experiences, and we kind of talked about how um according to like how much effort you put into something, like effort into your classes. Sorry, I'm about to go out.
Oh,
So sorry. Okay, my dog left.
oh, really went out.
Yeah, no, my dad was calling.
Oh,
She like stood up like um but yeah, we were talking about college and like how according to like how much effort you put into something like your classes, like how much like as much as you're invested in something, you receive back in return. And so we kind of wanted to talk more about that. Because we kind of left off with like talking about how like just as how like you invest like all this stuff into your schoolwork, it's also like for those who want to or for those who really feel inspired, I think it's great to also invest in your faith and in your relationship with God, because as much effort as you put into that relationship, just as with like any relationship, even among people, if you invest like really everything into a relationship with God and with a life of faith, then you receive back that much more. And you like if you really invest yourself into really studying the word and like listening to the word and learning the word, especially from someone who's also has experience with the word, then that much more you receive realizations, you feel inspired, you are set on fire to do something different with your life, and you sort of gain that much more as much as you put in. Like if you're just expecting to receive without doing anything, I know there's a lot of people that just expect things to happen because they're I don't know, like they expect like things to happen without any effort, but it's like
yeah.
even with like receiving from God, it's like you also have to put in effort. It's like a give and take.
hmm
Um, I think
Yeah.
people don't. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Just speaking from like personal experience, and I'm sure Trisha could relate too, but what she was saying about, yeah, investing in faith and in studying the word, I've seen how much it's been able to help me grow, like not only in faith, but then even in like other aspects of my life, like school, with work, just like my mentality when going out and meeting with people or just really like simple situations. But yeah, I've seen how much I was able to receive when I do put in the time to, get closer to God, do better in my faith. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think cause like my thing is like, before like a life of faith and studying, I've always been a big person, a big, like, I guess, interest in just like words and language and stories. And I think that is having that as like a sort of starting point. It kind of made me like, when hearing the word of God, it's also like you really have to like in order to really properly understand the word, it really has to be like looked at in detail.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people take the word, like the word that's in the Bible, very literally, but I think if you really like take the time to kind of look at it from a different perspective, it could really change the complete meaning of the story. Um, like there's so many things in the Bible that if you see it from a different perspective, like in anything, if you're looking at like a piece of art, it's like there's all these different angles you can look at it.
Yeah, like interpretations.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like there's this one rock I've seen before where it's like if you look, like it's in like a little like at a natural park that's like kind of a touristy spot, but there's this one rock that people look at, and if you stand at it from like 7 different positions, it's like there's a completely different image. So like in the same way too with the word, from what I've experienced, like if you look at the word from different perspectives and from different angles, you realize things differently. Like there's different things you can take from it. I think one thing I've like, even with like where am I going with this? Yeah, like with the word, like there's so many more, like there's all these miracles in the Bible, but there's even deeper miracles than at face value. Like when you really study the word and look at it, there's even like deeper messages that you can get from it than what's at face value. And I think that's really amazing about the word. Something that I really like about the word is that you can realize different things from it, like from different perspectives, but also like reading it again and again, and hearing it again and again, like listening to the word again and again, you receive different things, like according to like what you're going through at each time, and like the situations and the circumstances that you go through at each time. When you interact with the word, it's different because it pertains to you at that moment, which is different from maybe how you were, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Life, is constantly changing, and like even though the world is constantly changing and everything's changing, but the word always remains the same. And when you interact with the word at different points in your life, you are experiencing different things and you realize different things, but the word is still the same, but you gain different things, and that's like a really like amazing thing that I think about the word.
Mm. Yeah, it's really cool that even though we all, or some of us, listen to that same kind of word, but because we're so different, we all have like different characteristics, personality, and individualities, that we receive different realizations according to maybe what we were going through at that time, as Trisha said. And I think, yeah, there's been multiple times in the past where I've listened to the word, I've tried to read the Bible, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, what? Like, I'm trying to understand it, but I can't. But the purpose, is really to study that word, see if there's like what Trisha said, a deeper meaning, look at it from different perspectives. And then I think one of the best parts, or the best feeling, is when you're able to take something from that word or from the Bible and really relate it to yourself and have that act as like an answer to you that you've been searching for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that someone said, that like if you're just looking at something, like I think it was pertaining to watching TV, if you're just watching something and it doesn't like it ends with just watching it, then it just ends there. But if you learn something from it and you apply it to your life, then it becomes something beyond just like viewing and observing, but it actually becomes something that's like tangible and like a realistic change to you when you like apply what you learn and like learn from it.
Right.
Like if you're just listening to the word, and you just listen to it and you just like it goes in from one ear and out the other. It doesn't like stay with you. But if you like realize something and you learn from it and then you take action on it, then it becomes a tangible like experience and a tangible thing that you can hold on to.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really important, like gaining something, like, you know, if you're going to put in the effort and time to listen or to learn something, I think, you know, really to make use of that, gaining like a big realization from it would be really great. Like I remember feeling that way towards like some classes I took in high school, you know, like for example, like Spanish. Like it's so sad that I probably don't even remember most of the things that I've learned back then, but I used to be like pretty decent, but then because I didn't, you know, really maybe keep up with it over the years, and it's almost like it was for nothing. So I think, yeah, really holding on to what you learned from different experiences and, like you said, getting something tangible out of it is, I think, really important.
I think I was the same with Hawaiian. I took so much classes in like college, and like it's so sad because Hawaiian's like such a like here in Hawaii, it's not really a common language, and at one point it was considered like a dying language because no one was speaking it. And so I took classes in college, but because like especially with the thing with language, it's like you have no one to talk to, like in that language. You can't really like keep it. Like the best way to learn Spanish would probably be to go to like a Spanish speaking country.
Yeah, and practice it with someone who does speak it.
Yeah, that's like the best way to learn languages.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Korean, you go to Korea, or but like the thing is here is like with Hawaiian specifically, it's like to learn Hawaiian you come here to Hawaii, but if here in Hawaii no one's speaking it, then it's like no one. It's really hard to perpetuate the language.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, but it's like we also want to be the ones that maybe at times if no one's doing it, then maybe that much more people should do it so that we can start to perpetuate it, if that makes sense. Like if any given work, if there is like, because I'm sure there's so many things that people want to do with their life, and there's so many things like work that people want to do, but if like no one's doing it, it's kind of hard to start.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think if there's work that people want to do, then if there's something like you want to do, you should do it, even if no one else is doing it. And like you can be the starter, like make work for yourself, you know, give yourself work to do, and then, you know, do what you want. I think, you know, we're talking about that like in college. It's like, you and me, we've always had this like conversation about whether it's like when it comes to picking a job, do we do it based according to what we like or according to what we're good at?
Yeah.
And I think it's like it's a lot about trying. Like for me, I'm like I really have to like figure out what it is that I like and what it is that I'm good at. I tend to not know what I'm good at. Like people tell me I'm like talented and like I can do all these things, but it's like in reality when I think about it, like according to like my own perspective, like how I see myself, I don't see a lot of things that I'm good at. So I think it's also good to really like, I don't know, talk to people, like people around you, like, you know, if you're really struggling to find out what you're good at, like me, maybe I should talk to people around me and see from others' perspective.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's hard to see yourself.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like exactly that, because I think that's one of the best ways to learn about yourself sometimes is just to talk with someone, and then I'm sure they'll see you from like a different, just like what we're all talking about, get different angles, different views, perspectives, and maybe even be able to help you, like if there's anything you want to improve, or even like habits, or because you can't, technically we can't really see ourselves, you know, unless we're looking at a mirror, but most likely 24/7 we're always just seeing out of our own eyes. But really relying on other people and for help too, I think is really important. And just like what we are saying, in the midst of doing work, I think sometimes people try to take on that work, all by themselves and saying, I got this. Maybe they're super like inspired to do it, but then I think that way too, sometimes you burn out a lot more easily. And I have experienced that a lot too, but I think it never hurts to reach out to people, have connections or even resources. And I think with having other people to rely on, it'll really help you to push through and doing that work, and it'll be a lot more easier to do and fulfill.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, like right before we started recording this, I was just telling Mahea about how like I noticed like when we record these podcasts that I play with my hair a lot, and I'm like, since you're talking about like how you can't see yourself, and like, right now I'm seeing myself, and like I'm recognizing like how often I play with my hair, and like I'm noticing it like even like now as we're doing this podcast and like in the other ones. So it's like yeah, like we don't always have that sort of mirror. So it's good to work with others. Yeah, I think for me personally, I've always had like a sort of, I don't know, issue with not people. I don't have an issue with people, but like, I don't know, maybe I've had like sort of trust issues that were developed over the years, like personal trust issues just in general. But I think what's one thing that also has taught me about like a life of faith is that like God works through people. He speaks through people, and so we can't really be at odds with each other or like be what's the word, like distant from others and untrusting of others, because like how is God supposed to be able to speak to you if he can't work through the people around you?
Right.
And so even with that, like learning to like work with each other, like I've always had a tendency to like do everything myself, do everything alone, and like take on as much like if like I'll be the type to like want to help others, but I won't be the type to want others to help me. Like I've always been like I guess a giving type, but like not the same when it comes with receiving. Like I never wanted to like burden people, and like I can do it all myself, but like you said, it's kind of like that's an easy way to burn out. Like there's been so many times when I'm sure everyone like there's times where like I felt like burnout, and I still wouldn't want to say anything to anyone because I don't want to burden people with like my problems and stuff. So I tend to keep everything to myself. But I think through the word, it kind of reminds us we have to be harmonious with each other and like work with each other, and you're not alone in the work. You can always ask for help. You can always reach out to people, and so that's something that I'm also working on to kind of make it into a habit of reaching out when it's too much for me. So we don't want to like overwhelm ourselves.
I think it can be so easy to get caught up in the work, and you just want to do everything yourself and go to the end. But let's see, where was I going now? Main point, reaching out to people. And I think that's like one of the biggest things I think that keeps me going, especially just like what we were talking about from last podcast about figuring out what we want to do in life and for our careers. Just knowing that you're not alone I think is such a big thing that I think gives a lot of strength, not only to me but probably to a lot of people who are also going through something. But just knowing that you always have that chance, or you're always free to really reach out to the people who want to help you. And I'm sure for most of the times they wouldn't mind, because you both are going through maybe something similar, or also going through like same issues that you both could maybe resolve together. But do it together, guys.
I think it's important to kind of find the people who like you want to be able to have that kind of support system to kind of help you and like find those connections with people so that you can always go to those people when you're going through difficulties. And I know there's like I mean I don't know, I'm sure there's people like maybe out there that like feel like they don't have any friends or they feel like they don't have any like support system. And according to whatever situation you have, you might feel alone. But even if you don't have anybody like any people around you, you always have God. God is always with every single person too. And with like even if you feel like completely alone, there's always times when I feel lonely at times. But I think even at those times, it's like even more crucial to cling to God and cling to the Word, because that's how you can also gain comfort. There's always times when like I focus so much on the things that I'm lacking, and I focus so much on the things that I'm not doing well in. And then God always, through the Word, and God always like reminds me that, you're doing well, and sometimes we might not be able to, we can't hear God's voice. We can't literally hear exactly Him comforting us. So I think also at the same time, we also have to be people who can also comfort ourselves. We have to be people that kind of remind ourselves that, you're doing well. You gotta like I have to learn to kind of be my own supporter. Is that a word or you would use for yourself? But like I have to be the one to be like, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing, I need to stop focusing so much on the negative and like what I'm lacking, and so like stop focusing so much on what I'm doing wrong. But it's like, there's so many things that I'm sure you to be thankful for, and everyone's doing well in something.
Yeah, no, I get what you're trying to say too. Like, yeah, sometimes I feel like my biggest enemy sometimes can be like myself. Like I hold myself back. I make things more difficult for myself. But yeah, if you think about it, if we always just think about the negatives or what we didn't do, what the bad parts of us, and I think we can't really move forward from that. We can't really progress or make any progress from that. But if we think of ways on think more positively and optimistically, like, oh, maybe next time I could do this, and that way the outcome would be better. Or yeah, just really using what you've done well on as like your driving force. And I think that's when you're really able to make yourself more, and yeah, just become like a better person in your own way. But yeah, there's nothing good that can come out of just thinking badly about yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I get so caught up in like thinking of negatively, and like but if we become more, but of course it's like there's also like the point where people say this, like, was it toxic positivity or something like that, where it's like sometimes people, it's like not like, I don't know, sometimes people don't want to, like when people are going through difficulties, they don't want to hear like, oh, you just be positive, because it's like in those moments it doesn't like that kind of advice doesn't help. But like I don't know, it's like
that's my first time hearing of that though. Toxic positivity, I've never heard.
I don't know if that's the right word.
Oh.
But it's something like around that like wording where it's like sometimes like people don't want to hear, just be positive about it. I forget like I've seen like descriptions of it in like infomercials, like graphs, and like if anyone listening, like what I'm talking about, and share with us. But anyways, like, okay, now I've completely lost my train of thought. What did you say last?
I got so like caught up in trying to think of what you were saying meant to. Like I think I know what you're trying to say, but
Same with my hair again. Okay. We've lost our complete train of thought. Oh no. Well, this is also part of the learning process. We're trying to like keep on topic, but I feel like we're going like in like varying directions, which is okay. That's how conversations work.
yeah, it's not.
I think I'm
any
focusing so much on say, and like I'm thinking too hard. But yeah, I think something that you said is, I think it's something that we've always like talked about, is like how, you know, I'm the problem.
Yeah, that's where we were.
Yeah, it's me that brings myself down. It's me that like thinks negatively, and
Yeah.
like you cannot grow when you're stuck in that sort of negative like headspace.
Yeah.
You cannot grow from that.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, you know, like as much as other people might want to help you or through like their actions or their words, but you know, they can only do so much like till there's a limit, but it ultimately all starts from you, where you know you can make a change and gain or do something from it. Yeah.
Yeah, people can tell you over and over again to do something. They try to give you like positive advice, and they're like, oh, it's okay, just keep trying. And it's like they keep like, oh, do you need help? Do you need help? Can we help you in any way? It's like, no, it's just me. I just need to fix
me. I'm
myself.
the problem.
I'm the problem. But yeah, it's also just, but it's okay. I mean, as long as you like don't lose hope in yourself, I think, as long as you always have a hope that you can do better the next day. You know, every day is a new day, and you know, you can, even if you've had like a really bad day, you can always try again tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah. Never be discouraged.
Yeah, I feel like I get discouraged like super easily, and I don't know. It's something that each new day is positive. Like you can do better the next day. So I think it's important to, I think like I was saying earlier, it's important to surround yourself with the right people, the people that will like positively help you, the ones that have in mind that they want to see you grow, people that want to see you succeed and raise your level and do new things and do great things. It's really important to have that support system. And you know, your biggest fan in the biggest fan in your corner is God, and He will help you as much as you invest in a relationship with Him. Then He will be there to help you to really be the best person that you can be, and like your ideal person. God really just wants to help you be like an ideal person, and He's helping you through the Word. He's helping you through the people around you. He's helping you by like through the Word. It really like studying the Word in detail as like, even though I'm still negative, it's still a lot better than before I started like having a relationship with God. Or even when I do feel like super discouraged, I'm always reminded that like, oh, you know, like God always reminds me to keep going, to endure, to overcome the tribulations, to, you know, seek Him, and He will help guide you. And it's, yeah, I think it's really important to just like, going back to how we started this, it's really important to really know the Word in detail, but it's also like, you can't just like study the Word on your own. You have to really learn from someone who knows the Word too. Just like with any subject, you learn from someone who's an expert. You really have to find the person who's an expert in like the Word that can help you grow. Like one thing, like I don't know if you like also have noticed, like I'm still in my room, but it's like a different background. I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast. I'm currently working on renovating my room. And I'm working like a lot together with my dad because he's like a big, he's into like DIYs and like construction and like working with equipment and stuff like that. And so it's like I have to work together with him to really learn because I don't know and he knows. And so in the same way, it's important to learn from the people who know. So even when it comes to the Word of God, you can't just study it on your own because then you'll start interpreting it according to your own thoughts and according to your own level, which can only bring you to like an understanding to a certain level. But if you learn from an expert, they can really help you to learn even more deeply. So it's also like about learning from the right people.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like realized that too when we were speaking about that earlier. Like even though it's important to reach out to people and to help people, I was like thinking about it, I was like, wait, but you still have to be careful about the people who you connect with. They like we were just saying, it should be a good environment. You should surround yourself in a good environment with good people that help you to grow, but you shouldn't be blinded by someone who doesn't do that for you, who actually stops you from going, but keep them there just to have someone around. But I think you really have to discern well. And just like Trisha said too, for me, God has been like my source of strength and of hope and of encouragement. I think, he's really been helping me get through difficult times and really helping me to lead me to people or to opportunities where I do feel loved because of him. Yeah. Yeah. Like what you said, just really surrounding yourself with the right people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like in a marriage, you have like a wife and husband. You want to be like in that kind of relationship where you both kind of helping each other live, where it's not like one person's in like a higher position than their spouse. That's a pen in my hand. Like a different position from your wife, but you really have to be equal and raise each other up. So it's also like the same with God. Like God wants us, God's up here and we're down here, and like God wants to bring us up to his level, if that makes sense. So I think it's like surrounding yourself with the right people, with the right support system that will sort of lift you and raise you and help you to become better and do things better and do things in new ways. People that can challenge you too. I think it's important to not be around people that are sort of at the same level than you, but find people that are also at a higher level than you that will help you go up too as well.
Yeah, like how do you say, like a mutual learning kind of system where you both kind of give help and also receive help. Because I'm sure like everyone you meet is probably so different. Like they might be an expert or more experienced in certain areas, and then you could learn from them about that, and then whatever you're also experienced in, you can help them learn about that too. Yeah. So between you and people, but also especially between you and God, having that mutual relationship.
Yeah. So I think it's like with building your relationship with God, we really want to. It's not just about asking and receiving and just waiting, but it's also about doing your half, doing your responsibility, and doing your responsibility and like also putting in effort and not just like waiting, but it's also about preparing yourself to also like, because even if God wants to give you something, if you're not ready for it, you won't be able to receive it. So you have to also like prepare and like kind of ready yourself for the things that you're asking for in order for you to receive those things. And it's just like with like this is kind of like a weird like example, but like with farming, you put in the effort to sow the seeds and to raise the plants, and at the time of when when the time of harvest comes, like in the fall, like around this time is like the time of harvest where you do the work of harvesting. But you don't just harvest, you have to actually do the work, and you have to make yourself ready to also harvest. So, yeah, that's a right analogy, right?
Yeah, like, yeah, you have to do the work of preparation in order for that end result of the harvest to come. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I know, it's like it's such a weird example, but it came to mind. Like, we don't really think too much about farming like nowadays with like modern technology and like factories and stuff, but there's probably entire communities that still live like the farming lifestyle. And like in the Bible, it talks a lot about like fishing and farming, and there's a lot of like parables about that, because that's pertaining to the things that they were doing at that time. Like, God spoke a word and that people at that time could relate to, because that's the things that they were doing. So even in this time, the word comes out according to like according to the times, like the word shifts. So it's really about understanding the word according to the time period that it's in, like it's being given, in order to understand the people of that time. Like 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 I'm in like with English major, with one thing that like I learned a lot about in like my English classes was that like the novels we read give us insight into the time period that they're written about. So like when you read a book in that takes place in 18th century London, you learn about what kind of society and what kind of people and what kind of situation and circumstances they had in that time period. So in the same way with the Bible, it's like we have to also think about it in pertaining to the things that are going on in that time period. Yeah, so I think things like that, like there's things that we've learned. Sorry, my mouth is getting all dry. There's a lot of things that we've learned over the years about the Bible, and like really learning in depth and like really studying the word in depth. That it's important to do. In order for you to really understand God, we really have to understand the Bible and understand the people going through at that time, in order for us to see how God worked at that time. And then in the same way, God works in the same way at this time too. So it's like we have to be able to see what he did in the past for us to understand what he's doing now.
Yeah, like even though or the message and the word never changes, but the time does. So yeah, just knowing where and when that word came from or when it happened, it makes a lot more sense when you're reading it, when you actually apply it to that time and to that people, and you come to understand, oh, so that's what that means. But yeah, you just really have to look at what kind of time you're living in, and when it comes to the word, and I'm sure it'll come to you a lot more easily where you'll be able to understand it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think this is a good episode. We've talked a lot of things. It's gonna be hard for me to write a summary about this. I feel like we've kind of gone all over the place, but I mean that's how conversations work. It's okay. Yeah, so thanks. Thank you all for listening to this podcast or for watching the video if you're watching on the YouTube. Again, it's the YouTube channel is youtube.com/ I believe it's I don't know if it's I think it's Develop With Me, youtube.com/ Develop With Me. That's the YouTube account where we post the video format of the podcast, and other videos as well. And then for the podcast, find this podcast wherever you're listening, whether it's Spotify, Apple. Yeah, thanks for tuning in to another episode. I hope that there was something that people were able to get out of this. We also want to bring up that, like, since we talked about the word so much in this episode, we wanted to give the opportunity to people who are interested, if there's anyone listening who would be interested in having a Bible study and like learning the word in depth and learning about like the time periods, learning about what the Bible really means when like in the stories that are in the Bible, how to really interpret them, such as like one story that's like the sun stop. There's a story in which the sun stops in the Old Testament, and it's like, what does that really mean that the sun stops? So it's like things like that, and it's like different stories and different like ways to interpret the Bible and how it pertains to people in the old time period, but also how it pertains to us here now in 2020 and things that are going on in the modern days. So if anyone's ever interested in learning Bible study, you can email me at trishakaleo@gmail.com. That's TRYCIAKALEO@gmail.com. That would be my email. That's the email for this the YouTube account.
Yeah, and also if you want to just like see or follow an account that posts really inspiring words as well, like Proverbs or Bible scriptures, there is an Instagram account. We know the people who are associated with it, and they do run it, but it's called at Ministry of Life, and it's not like regularly spelled ministry, but MINIS and then tree TREE of life. And yeah, they are pretty frequent in their posting. I believe like maybe every day or pretty so often that they do post. And yeah, it's really nice, like images that I think a lot of people could take from, whether you don't really even have to be like religious or not, but it could still be something that could inspire you or move you. But yeah, go follow them if you're interested.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us this episode. Hopefully you were able to get something from this, and we'll see you in the next episode, or you'll hear us in the next episode.
Yes.
Have a good day. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.